Today we're talking about the history of baseball in Vancouver.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi. Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
When you think of baseball in Vancouver, you think of the Canadians, Larry Walker, Nat Bailey Stadium, the talented Japanese teams of the early 20th century, and of course, the thousands of small community diamonds around the southwestern part of the province. But the history of baseball in and around Vancouver is a lengthy one. Let's quickly take a look back at some photos of baseball prior to the 20th century. These strapping young lads here at a diamond on Cambie Street, well, they would be around 40 years old when World War I started. The photo taken in 1889. These players, also taken around 1890. Or the Vancouver Beavers here in 1908. Or this photo of an American All-Star team full of major leaguers during a tour through Vancouver in 1922. Or how about Babe Ruth in Vancouver on a similar American All-Star tour in 1926? And again in 1934 with Lou Gehrig. Ruth and the other legends would have played right here, Vancouver Athletic Park.
Now, many West Coasters have watched baseball games at Nat Bailey Stadium through the years, but that was not the original name of the stadium.
When we think of professional baseball in Vancouver, we obviously think of the Vancouver Canadians and Nat Bailey Stadium. But professional level baseball of various levels has existed in the city for well over a century. Pro teams have included the Beavers and the Capellanos. The Capellanos were around in the late 1930s to the mid-50s, their main legacy being Capilano Stadium, which opened in 1951, which is now called Nat Bailey Stadium. But first, let's back up for a second. Before Nat Bailey Stadium, pro and amateur teams would play at Athletic Park, right here at the south end of the Granville Bridge. It was there from 1913 until 1951. Prior to that, Recreation Park and Callister Park by the P&E grounds, which you can see in this aerial shot in 1967. In 1956, Vancouver got their first high-level AAA team, the Vancouver Mounties, who would play in the city at Capilano Stadium until 1969. This led to a gap, though, from 1969 until the creation of the Canadians in 1978. The city was without a pro team. Similar to Toronto's gap from the departure of the Toronto Maple Leafs AAA team in 67 until they got the Blue Jays in 77. The Vancouver Canadians that people see at Nat Bailey Stadium today is actually a different organization than the team of the 1980s and 1990s. The successful AAA Canadians were relocated to California. The following year, a club named Canadians took up residence at Nat Bailey, though, playing in a lower-tiered league, but as an affiliate of the Blue Jays. Here is a photo of former Blue Jays stars Aaron Sanchez and Kevin Pillar in 2011, when the team won the Northwest League Championship. Here is Marcus Stroman in 2012. Now, a discussion of Vancouver baseball can't be had without looking at the huge influence the Japanese community played at the beginning of the 20th century. The Asahi team played from 1914 until 1942, winning numerous titles. Why 1942? Well, the disturbing internment of the Japanese community during World War II. Despite some of the community existing on the West Coast since the late 1870s. There were numerous other successful amateur and semi-pro Japanese teams in the Vancouver region prior to this, though, from 1908 also until World War II. Will Vancouver ever get a Major League Baseball team, though? There's been talk about it for decades, but success in Vancouver isn't always guaranteed. In the 1990s, BC Place Stadium did host numerous preseason Major League Baseball games, though. The Blue Jays, the Expos, and other teams. BC Place, though, really is not suitable. Here is some pretty awesome footage of MacGyver and Hank Aaron in BC Place Stadium during an episode of MacGyver in the late 1980s. Here's Reggie Jackson and MacGyver at Nat Bailey Stadium as well. Let's quickly take a look at some photos from Vancouver's baseball past. As is still the case, many of the amateur teams would be sponsored by a local business. In this case, from the 1960s, these young chaps are sponsored by the always beautiful Waldorf Hotel on Hastings. Or these young chaps in the 1960s sponsored by the Lougheed Hotel, which was right here. I even just found this photo of myself in the City of Burnaby archives playing in Burnaby in 1990. I'm not too sure about my stance though. The good old days.